Hello and welcome along to WD18 with myself, Jacob Culshaw. Two Charlies on the show today. Charlie Zazzera. First off, Charlie, how are you doing it without Sam? You've recovered from not doing it with Sam?
Yeah, no, we're missing Sam, but congratulations for him to do his run in Norway. So we'll put a link in the description. If you haven't sponsored him, any bits of change, send, because he's doing it for a brilliant cause. But yeah, no, we've got a good replacement in the one and only Charlie Bush, who obviously went to Norwich as well. So it'd be good to get a perspective from someone actually at the game as well.
Charlie, what a pleasure, Charlie. It's great to have you on. I think it's been a month or so since we last had you on. I think it was after a Watford win, so the first one on WD18 for yourself after a Watford defeat. Talk to me about the mood today, mate. Have you processed yesterday's? I'd go to Ubering defeat.
I had a nice 2.5 hour bus journey or coach journey on the way home to process things a little bit as well. But it's just the same rubbish in the first 5 minutes that we've been doing recently. Actually didn't even come as a shock when the goal went in, to be fair. I was speaking to Stanley, one of the Watford fans on social media, said that he was going to put a bet on it, and but he actually didn't. He didn't in the end, but probably would have been a good idea for him to do that, to be fair. But yeah, no, still not recovered.
As Charlie mentioned, Charlie Zazzera. So there's two Charlies on the pod today. So we're going to go CZ and Charlie. So Charlie is Charlie Bush today, and CZ is Charlie Zazzera. I can't even get it out of my head. As Charlie mentioned, a few bits of housekeeping before we get into today's video. It did finish Norwich 1, Norwich 4, Watford 1. I wish it was the other way around. In East Anglia, a humbling defeat for Tom Cleverley's Yellows. So a bit of housekeeping. Sam Yuko, friend of the channel, regular here, did run the half marathon, as Charlie said, in Norway on Saturday, raising money for Minds. We'll leave the link in the description below if you still want to donate. Sam raised nearly £2,000 for Minds. He got his personal best in a half marathon. He completed his first race abroad as well. So if you do have a bit of time left on your Sunday evening, drop Sam a message, send him a bit of love. And if you want to donate, we'll leave the link below as well to do that. There's another link to Hertfordshire Minds this time. So for £1 for every Watford goal we score this season. Now, we had a really prolific and quite expensive month one. Month two hasn't been hitting those heights. Having said that, we did score one yesterday. So if you fancy donating £1, the link is in the description below. Today is pretty much a Norwich post-mortem / therapy session on what we witnessed at Carrow Road yesterday. Myself and Charlie weren't there. We watched from afar. Charlie Bush, or should I say myself and CZ and Charlie.
So confusing.
Oh no, I'm all over the gap. You know what? Before we do that, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to WD18, comment down below your thoughts, follow Charlie, the Bush, Charlie, and myself on our social channels, and WD18 at WD18 fans to get involved in the conversation. Thanks so much to everyone who's watching live. And final thing to ask, if you could leave us a review on audio, Spotify, iTunes, 5-star rating goes a long way. And actually, since we've been dropping this in, and I know you're thinking, Jake, you're begging it at this point, the ratings have actually just gone up a little bit. So it does go a long way. CZ, talk to me about the starting 11, because this is what we were whipped out at 11:30 yesterday ahead of the early kickoff. And there was a lot of hype from Watford fans. Mr. Zazzera, Batman in goal, back through Pollock, Sierralta, James Morris, Ryan Andrews on the right, Ken Semmer on the left with Sissoko and Deli Bashir as the two, Rocco Vata on the left-hand side, Chakpadati on the right with Jebison leading the line. Were you one of the Watford fans that were hyping this lineup up at 11:30?
The minute Culshaw popped up in the WhatsApp saying, "I fancy us today," I knew it was all over. But to be fair, like when you saw that starting lineup, I think people have been crying out for Jebison, Vata to play that front three, or Jebison leading the line and Vata and Georgie just behind. Obviously, there was a bit of worry Georgie wouldn't play because of the back spasm he had against Coventry. But Morris came in as well, which was interesting. I'm guessing we're going to talk about him a bit in replace to Portier. So, yeah, I thought I looked at that lineup and I thought, yeah, I'm excited to see this team. But that first 13 minutes, it couldn't have got to a worse start. Absolute nightmare start.
Charlie, a lot of people have been asking for Rocco Vata to come in,
including myself.
including yourself. Why was that? Because he did start. This is his first league start for Watford. He's played in the Carabao Cup. He's come off the bench a couple of times, but this was his first league start. Why were you so keen for him to start in the league?
Because he's got his name in the back of his shirt.
Yeah, well, there's reason number one. Reason number two, he's got a great chant. But more importantly, he just looks so exciting in the friendlies that we've seen. He's a young forward player who's always looking to sort of drive at the defence, similar to what Georgie's been doing, and it's just like refreshing to watch in a Watford shirt. But to be fair, in the end, I'm sure we'll get onto it. He didn't have the greatest impact or as big of an impact as a lot of fans, including myself, thought he was going to have. And I sort of at times missed Kiembe in that role. I don't know. I just feel like Ido can sort of bring the ball from midfield to attack a lot better than Rocco Vata did. Rocco's sort of one of them players that you want to give the ball to, not one of the players to help bring the ball up. So I thought maybe it was a team that didn't fit well around him, but I was sort of hoping for a little bit more. But a little bit disappointing.
Let's get into that first 13 minutes. For people who were living under a rock and didn't see the game, this is a sort of recap of the first 13 minutes. So Batman made an incredible save in minute 1 from Sargent, a great ball from Sainz down the Norwich left and the Watford right. Ball played across, Batman saves it. We're then down 1-0 to Doyle, who hits a shot from, I want to say 25 yards out. Chakvadatsi's gone past too easily, straight at Batman, and it's gone in.
Batman should have saved that.
Well, I'm going to give you 2 secs, Charlie, and then we'll do it. So Sierralta then comes off injured. This is all in 13 minutes, by the way. Sierralta then comes off injured. Bachmann then comes off injured within minutes of each other. Norwich then start dominating. They've targeted our right-hand side. And then Norwich had a goal ruled out that looked pretty onside as well. Now, the Bush has made a fantastic point. Should Bachmann have done better, CZ?
Yes, I think he should have. But we have to credit him, and I'll kind of go through some screen grabs, analysing kind of why Norwich exploited our right-hand side so well. But yeah, I think it's kind of classic Dan Batman. I think the save he's pulled off with Josh Sargent is unbelievable in the first minute. So you're praising him, and then seconds later, Callum Doyle, he's probably had too much room on the edge of the area. Would we want Sissoko or Tom Dele-Bashiru to push him down? But you're thinking left back, let him shoot from here. And when you see it, it's just not in the middle of the goal at all. He gets hands on it, but not strong enough. And again, the worst possible start, a goal inside just under 3 minutes. And like we've been talking about, that is 4 games in a row where we've conceded within 4 minutes. So, unfortunate for Dan, but I think he should have saved that one.
Charlie Bush, is this true? And I got told from someone at the game that Batman picked up an injury in the warm-up. Did you see that?
What? I must have been completely oblivious to that. Or not watching Daniel Batman, to be fair. I can't say that I saw that in the warm-up, but my views are similar to CZ's views. If you actually look at the screen grabs, when Batman goes to save it, he sort of, I don't know how to explain it, he drops to go down to dive way too early, and he sort of as a result isn't able to reach the ball. Not that I've got any clue on how to be a goalkeeper, but if I was to have any sort of guess, look, he's so low on the ground before the ball's even got anywhere near him, and that's why the ball can go in so easily when it's not even in the corner remotely at all.
I felt that Chakvadadze went past too easily, Mr. Zazzera. The shot's gone off. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Do you know what? And don't get me wrong, Batman, we all agree, Batman should have done better for the goal. What I will say in his defence is we could have been 1-0 down if it wasn't for him in the first minute. So I'm not saying they cancel each other out, but it could have been 2 if it wasn't for him. And actually, if we take a step back, I think, at CZ, over the course of the first few games, Batman has made some big saves. So I'm not saying I let him off, and I'm not saying he's not at fault for the goal, but in the grand scheme of maybe the starts this season, is that probably the biggest? Well, I can't think of many other mistakes he's made, or is that me clutching?
No, I think you're right, but like you said, on the whole, he's been fine to good this season. I think kind of Clevs has simplified his game. Last season, we were talking about Bachmann a lot more because Val was asking him to be like the key player when we were trying to build out and asking him to use his feet. I think we've simplified his game, which is good. Just so happens yesterday, well, it was short and sweet, but it was just, for me, Dan Batman in a nutshell, makes one unbelievable save and then makes an error. So, yeah, it's one of those, like, I don't think he's fully to blame, but I think it mainly to blame. But yeah, when you look at kind of how Callum Doyle's got that room on the edge of the box, the team needs to take some responsibility as well. And yeah, I'm going to steal your question, Jacob, and put it onto you. But why are we starting so slowly in games? What is it about this season? Maybe not even this season, most seasons, that it just feels like we're slow starters.
This is the conundrum, isn't it? If we look at the last 4 league games, so Watford have now conceded in the first 5 minutes in our last 4 league games. So versus Derby inside 2 minutes, Sheffield United inside 2 minutes, Coventry inside 4 minutes, and Norwich on Saturday inside 3 minutes. Now, I'm struggling with it because they're all very different goals, actually. And sometimes when you have a stat like that, and I'm sure we all do it, we look for patterns that have emerged over those 4 games, and they're different goals. But I think probably what I've noticed from Cleverley's comments and maybe the way we're playing is we're going to play our own way. And maybe we're not adapting as much to the conditions. Because I feel like, lads, I don't know about you, but when we're away from home, just ease yourself into the game. Play a little bit smart, play the sort of areas, get yourself into the game, get a foot on the ball, control it. And when we do that, we were the better team. Particularly, I thought, when we scored, we had a momentum period of about 20 minutes where we were the better team in that first half. We then conceded a sloppy one just on the stroke of half time. I just feel maybe in those 4 games, the one thing that stood out to me is we're not managing the first periods of the game that well. Yes, some people are going to say, well, if we didn't score, you wouldn't be saying that. But there's a pattern emerging in the first 5 minutes where we're coming out the blocks, maybe not in the right fashion, Charlie Bush, and we're finding ourselves in a position where we're 1-0 down and playing some good football after that. So why do you think? Do you agree that it's down to managing the first periods of the game, or is there something else that you might have picked out about our starts so far this season?
Yeah, it's definitely something that we should be managing. I think I heard Cleverley say in an interview some point down the line that he wants to step onto the opposition to start the game. Maybe we're doing that a bit too strong. Maybe we're stepping on too fast, going a bit, pressing up a bit too high for the first couple of minutes. Maybe, you know what, in a long shot, maybe some other managers might have even heard that interview and thought, you know what, if they're going to step on, we'll go at the same time. And it's sort of backfiring in a way. But I think it's definitely something that's manageable in sort of future games. We can always take a step back, foot off the gas. And I think we should definitely start doing that.
Yeah, for me, it's something, Jacob, you mentioned there. And if you look for patterns for all the goals, and I'm just reminding myself of the goals here. And one thing that springs to mind, I don't think we're being intense enough. Like, I can't remember us out the blocks pressing like mad. And I'm looking at the goals. Adams, that we've let a cross in, and he's had on the edge of the box. We've let the ball come in from a throw-in. We could have got out to them, not being intense. Backman against Sheffield United, they've kind of got round and we've let them get to the byline. I wasn't there for that game. I didn't watch it properly. Sims from a corner, free header. Are we intense enough in our preparation? Have we got our men? Are we on our toes? Are we bang at it from the word go? And then, yesterday when I'm looking back at it, we're letting Callum Doyle on the edge of the area, do you know what I mean, have a strike when we should be closing him down. I think maybe that intensity is lacking from the off. I might be wrong. It'd be interesting what people think in the comments, but that's one thing that after I look in isolation at each goal might be a pattern.
Agreed. And I also think just one thing that's come to me, and I think someone in the comment section from Sean, he says the main thing was Andrews was way too high up the pitch. Like you say, managed the game at times and just dropped back 15 yards, left the centre-backs isolated so many times. To be honest, that last line, Sean, I think was a theme of the whole game, really, rather than just the start. And I don't think it's just an Andrews issue, because this is clearly what he's been told to do. This is clear. And yes, there's elements that it's early days in Tom Cleverley's managerial career, so he is going to make mistakes and he's going to be a little bit tweaks. I just feel maybe we're a little bit naive in saying we can go there, play exactly the way we want to play, get the wing backs as high as possible, and almost like we expect it to be completely fine going the other way. Charlie, I feel like that tees you up quite nicely, because there was a comment from Ben who said the commentary game was an easy one to analyse. Picking the holes out of this one might take a week. So, Charlie, I know you've got a few Charlie Zazzera, sorry. I know you've got a few stats and screenshots prepared, and then we'll bring in the Bush in for his thoughts on the screen grabs.
Yeah, Ben's correct. I had to whittle down the screen grabs for this one because it was wow, so many examples, and it was mad to look at. Really, this is first minute. I'm going to try and get through these quickly. Look at the positions here. We can see Andrews is pretty high up, and the rest of the defence, but all of that space. Signs puts in a good ball. Josh Sargent's got to be scoring from there, but it's a great save from Backman. Later on, Josh Sargent drops deep. Pollock follows him in. One pass. Josh Signs has got the whole of this left-hand side to go at. This is just kind of a good demonstration of our high line throughout the game. And I want to talk about the high line because I think that we wanted to use this high line, and I don't think we've done it in every game. But I think for this one, we've gone Norwich. They're a new team. They're trying to play out the way back. And I saw from the word go, there was a high press. And I think we're playing a high line because we're trying to force them from errors high up. We want to kind of get mistakes. And that's good if you're Man City. But I think yesterday when you saw the amount of direct passes and all the chances of going to go through that high line, we just don't have the players to do it. What did you think, Jacob, of the high line and just how we set up?
I was going to throw it over to Charlie Bush, actually, because I know you saw it. So from when we were watching from home, Charlie, we saw the high line. Did you notice that instantly in the ground that Tom Cleverley had put this high line and we were leaving a lot of space behind? Because when you look at the back three on paper, whether Searauter's on or not, we're not blessed with pace in the three central centre-backs. And I've always felt that's a little bit of an area which we do lack because we've got really quick fullbacks, whether it's Andrews or whether it's Ebosele. Sema less so this time, but Larousse is a fast player when he gets going forward. But those three at the back, did you feel that high line was an issue straight away?
You know what? From the sort of angle from the first half, obviously our defence was in the other half compared to the away fans. From the actual back line as a whole, it wasn't really that noticeable. But the one thing that was noticeable was how high Ryan was playing, obviously playing down the side nearest to the away fans. And sort of every time, I think it was, is it Borja Signs playing on that left wing, was that it was playing across, they were playing out the back. And the long ball over, Borja Signs was on his own every single time. And the majority of the time it had come from us attacking and us pressing onto them. So exactly what Charlie was saying, it was quite intense for the first 5 minutes for a decent press. But unfortunately that just left massive spaces between Porto and Ryan for Borja Signs to just run absolute rings around us, which he did for the goal right before half time. And it was a horrible time to score.
On that, Ben in the comments, Charlie, has said, I think the Porto-Andros combo has been a pretty loose one. Mill and Norwich away, many of the dangerous attacks came down that flank, if my memory serves me correctly, both positionally erratic. Now, I felt this was fundamental of the whole team, not just individuals, but Charlie Zazzera particularly, it was clear from Norwich targeting our right side. And why do you think they did that? Because they got a lot of joy, whether that was in the first half, whether that in the second half. Nothing really changed in either halves.
Yeah, I think Charlie Bush got it spot on when he highlighted Borja Signs. And because we got Morris on this side, I think I can throw up a quick graphic to actually prove just how much they attacked our right-hand side compared to the other sides. But I think they've gone. They know the strengths of their own player in terms of Borja Signs, and that's why they've targeted the right side. Andrews did play really high, but so did Ken, which I'll get up in a bit. Sorry, there's so many screen grabs, so let me just...
For people who can't see this, by the way, Charlie has got 100 screenshots of yesterday. Are you going to keep these, Charlie, afterwards, by the way?
What sort of storage have you got on this laptop?
Yeah. So one thing as well, Kenny McLean was key for them, and that might point to kind of the lack of intensity from maybe our midfielders that they didn't get out to Kenny McLean, because I think he played the second most long passes, and he just got it, and he was just chipping it in. Okay, let's just analyze the second goal, which is the worst of the lot. Wow. This is on 47th minute. We've got a throw in here, James Morris. But one thing that I found interesting is Porto here. We'll get to Porto in a bit, but he was kind of saying calm it. He was kind of gesturing something to James and saying, calm down. And you can see his frustration here when we kind of throw it. Porto was angry. And then if you look at the positions here of our back line, this is on the 47th minute. Andrews is up here. Porto, Pollock. James Morris is taking the throw. And Ken Sem is here. Could we have dropped us back and had Ryan here? And maybe Ken Sem had the throw and had James here? I think so. We move it on. Rocco Vata loses the ball pretty cheaply. And look at our positions here. One more again. And this is where they're in position. And like I said, with that back line, they've got two here. You can see Pollock's shadow here. But it's 2-on-2. James Morris is here. Ken Sem is even higher than Ryan. And again, this is like seconds before the half time. James McLean gets the ball, one ball over, and then it's 2-on-2. And if you want to have a look at our back line here, Ryan, Porto, Pollock,
Oh my God.
James, and Ken Sem's not even in shot. That's our defensive structure. And then these guys, 2-on-2. And then again, like highlighting one of their best player, Broadger Signs, he was the key man. He finished, but he could have had a goal before that. And I think that was absolutely criminal at that stage to kind of concede a goal. There's a couple of other bits I'll go on to, but I think that really killed us because that changed how we approached the second half. But yeah, I think conceding then was an absolute killer because like you said, Jacob, we actually were in the ascendancy there and maybe we were too keen and we should have had that game management. That's something that Cleverly mentioned in his interview afterwards to improve our game management.
Charlie Bush, on that point, is that down to the system? Is that down to personnel? Is that down to the manager?
You know what? I don't like to say it because Clever's had a brilliant start, but it should be down to the management from Clev's of why we're not on the 47th minute when we've just got a goal back, going into half time 1-0. Surely you absolutely take that instead of trying to get a second before half time. So like what Charlie pointed out, I don't understand why Morris is taking that throw in, and why is your left centre back taking a throw in, leaving a 2-on-2, and when we know that McLean's going to just ping those balls over every single time, without even giving it a break, maybe dropping those three off before half time, and then maybe having the half time chat saying then go a bit more further up, going for the second, not straight away after we've almost just got the equaliser. Approaching half time, so I think it probably was down to management or miscommunication from the sidelines onto the pitch.
I think the most frustrating thing, though, Charlie Zazzera, is the fact that we saw that goal in the first half, and we saw patterns and repeated sort of attacks from Norwich, and pretty much copies down that one side, and we saw the same in the second half. Now, I can excuse the mistake being made in the first half because look, there's fair play to Norwich. They clearly done their research. They'd seen that down that side we looked pretty light, and it did not help with Sierralta going off, and maybe underlines his importance in that back line in terms of organising, in terms of making sure everyone's in the right position. But they had worked out that the gap between the right centre back and the right wing back is a vulnerable area for Watford because of how high the wing backs get, and the fact that the centre backs, I don't think, have the pace to cover the space that the wing backs are leaving. In the second half, I guess my question would be, how do you solve that? How do you solve that conundrum? Is it a change of system where you go back to a 4? Is that down to the personnel? What would you have done if you were Cleverly? Because it's all well and good saying it in hindsight.
Yeah, interesting one. I wanted to go through the third one before I answer that because I think we tried to be a bit more conservative, but I think for the third one, it's an individual mistake, and I don't want to kind of raise it, but I'll just talk through the goal. So Norwich have got it here, and they've made a really good third man run, which Georgie's kind of following. So it's either that you think Ryan Porteous is going to say, I'll take the man, or ask Georgie to leave. But what happens is, I have no idea why he's done this, but Porto's committed to go in here. And then Georgie's not even looking at his man at this point. The ball actually goes here, so it doesn't even go to this player. And then again, I think it's McLean, who had a brilliant game. One ball over the top. And look, Porto and Chatfadazzi are out of position. and they've just got kind of oceans of space to go on all the time in the world to pick out a cross. He could pick it to this man, or even at the back stick. He's 3-on-3 in the box. Callum Doyle is a great player, pulls it back, and then one or two they're queuing up. So again, for me, I think the way why has Porto gone in at that point? He's absolutely killed us from the start. So then it's a question: what do we do? Because we're 3-1 down instead of 2-1 down. Does Cleverley go? Okay, we should go back to a 4 and stay in the game. I would have liked, because when I looked at the direct passes over the top, which there were 10 in total, there was 3 in the first 20 minutes. I would have liked to seen us be a bit more conservative, like earlier on in the game. But I think after it was 3, we were going, we've just got to go for it. So, yeah, I think it's collective responsibility, not just Cleverley, not just the players. I think I'd have liked to seen us drop deep a bit early on, because it was so clear that they were just targeting us with direct balls in our high line. So maybe that's something that Clevs can learn from. But I still want to see players, especially players, international players, and I don't think it's just Porteous, Sissoko as well. They should have grabbed the game and been like, lads, let's just sit in here. We're getting done at the moment. Let's see ourselves into the game.
And despite all this, Charlie Bush, we did have chances. I mean, the fact that we still created chances, again at the back, we were really open. But on the top of my head, and feel free to jump in if I've missed any, Rocco Vata hits the bar that then led to the goal with Andrews, who scored. The big one, though, talk to me about Jebo.
I think it was, I saw a stat on, I don't know whether it was Twitter or Instagram, it was 0.6 expected goals. I don't know whether he thought it had gone over the line, but still, you don't stop, do you, until the ball was properly in the back of the net. But you as a striker, you shouldn't be missing from there. I think it might have been Rio that I saw on Twitter say something like, if this was Bale or Rajovic, they'd be getting absolute dog's abuse right now. Luckily, obviously, Jebo's a new player, easing his way into the team. But I think a striker with Premier League experience like he has, you should be putting that in the back of the net, really. I reckon me, you and Charlie would giving that a good go to put that one in the back of the net.
I'm actually going to, I might get pelters for this, but I'm actually going to go to the defence of Jebo, and anyone calling him out for one performance which wasn't suited to his game needs to give their head a wobble. But if you have a look closely, it is kind of behind him and it is a reaction. The thing that kills me is if he leaves it, we've got two players queuing up to just tap it in. Look, it's not one he's going to want to watch back. So I never want to see that screen grab again. But it was slightly behind him to his defence. He didn't. I think he was feeding on absolute scraps yesterday. Apart from that, obviously he probably should score with a bit more composure. But I'm trying to give him a tiny bit of credit because bit of context. The ball was coming behind him. It's come at a bit of an angle. But look, it's one game. Let's all calm down. I'm hoping he's going to have good games. And you did see many occasions yesterday where he was showing the ball, making good movement, pressing, but he was feeding on absolute scrap yesterday.
And again, in the second half, I thought, again, we were susceptible at the back, but I thought when Barr came on, we created a few more opportunities, getting some good areas. I don't think going forward was as much of the issue yesterday. I think the bigger conversation was at the back. And I wanted to get onto that really because a lot of people have said, Charlie Bush, about sort of Tom Cleverley, the fact that us as Watford fans, we want to give him time. He's 6 games in to his first professional season as a manager. Obviously, he came in as an interim head coach last season. It's going to take time. These things are going to take time. What do you want Tom Cleverley to learn from yesterday going forwards with this Watford team?
You completely said that. One of the comments that I saw here saying that it was Ollie actually. Ollie said this is always going to happen with Cleverley. Under 20 games as a manager, he'll make mistakes. We have to give him time. And I really hope that the Potsos listens to Ollie and give him some time because it is going to happen. It's a very new role for him. And I think that the one thing to improve on would just be that game management of, was it the best decision at 3-1 to absolutely go for it? Or like Charlie said, maybe we could have just taken a foot off the gas, trying to build our way into the game a little bit slower. Obviously, it's hard to do that when you've got limited time and you're 3-1 down. But there's probably ways around it that we could have gone a different way against Norwich. And I think yeah, but we probably could have had a bit more tactic into our way of getting back into the game. Me and the lads that I went with, we sort of only noticed one tactic of trying to get back into the game, and it was a long ball up to Jebbo every single time, and it was actually Georgie creating those long balls. They were great long balls. He was doing this thing where he weaves through, pings it across when it'll be either to Sema or Jebbo, but there's no one else following that pass up. It was just a lob up to Jebbo, hoping that he can sort of take it down, turn his man like he's Erling Haaland or something, which he's obviously not. But like what Charlie said, you definitely can't judge Jebbo off of that one game, because we didn't give him much service at all, apart from just lobbing the ball up to him.
Charlie Zazzera, is it fair to say that was probably the biggest tactical defeat for Cleverley so far, in terms of the way he set up the team, the way he wanted to play? In his press conference, I listened to it in the build-up, he was very much that he thought they had a plan, they could go there, execute it, and beat a Norwich team that haven't won in the league so far this season, is what we must say. And to be fair, all credit to Norwich. Johannes Hove-Thorup put in a really good tactical display, completely deserved the win. And I think, Charlie, you're going to mention that in the second half about how it changed. We'll do that in just a second. But just on Tom Cleverley, you mentioned it's the biggest taste of tactical defeat today. That was his decision to play like that. My biggest thing, Charlie, and let me know what you think about this, I don't think you can defend like that without pace with the outside centre-backs. And what I mean by that is, I know Sierrata went off, but you looked at the back line, you had Porteous, you had Pollock, you had Morris. Now, I think if you spoke to all three of those guys, they would say they're not the quickest of players. I know they were doing their FIFA ratings in the week, and I don't think many of them would have been above 60, put it that way. So when you look at that and you think about how high the wing-backs get upfield, and you think about the midfield two of Sissoko and Dele Bashiru not really covering that space, do you think he will have to tweak that system and go to a 4 at some point? Or do you think he has to double down on the 3, even after the result yesterday? Or is it too soon? And I've given you 3 options there. It's like, who wants to be a millionaire? But is it too soon to say, you know what, he has to not scrap, but completely change the way he wants to play? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think like obviously yesterday's game kind of stood out because it like the scoreline at 4-1, but like we've just shown, if Jefferson scores that, we're winning 2-1 in this completely different game. And like you said, we did grow into the game after going 1 behind early on. I think we need to stick with it. I think one thing that is clear is, and not worrying, but like if you look at the signings and the profile of players that we're getting in, especially with the number 10s, you can't now revert to start sticking like Georgie wide left attacking and Vata wide left. Do you know what I mean? I think, look, before today, we were saying we were showing all the benefits. I'd done bloody analysis last week or a couple of weeks ago comparing us to Bayer Leverkusen. So I'm very much of the thought of just do it better and learn on it. And it's not a case of this won't work. I think, Jacob, you make a good point about kind of the profile of our outside centre-backs. Have we got the right profiles to play there? I think my argument would be more, can we do it better? Can we be more flexible? Do we need to drop in and make it a 5 at times instead of having the wing back so high? Is the personnel the right ones? Is Ebosele more suited and more defensive minded? Although, do you know what I mean? Ryan got his goal and that came from Ken assist, the left wing back to the right back. So the kind of pros and emphasis. The pros and cons of it, sorry. I just think yesterday just showed the system in its worst light possible. But in the previous games, we've been singing and saying how much we enjoyed it. And the one thing that I would say is I'd much rather an exciting Watford who are going to play on the front foot and be a bit more expansive and play like this, then go back to maybe a 4-3-3, try and sit in, try and break teams down. Because I think this season on the whole, we've been good. But then recently we've come up against the Sheffield United, played all right, and a Coventry, again, who we all rate, but we didn't get over the line. So yesterday was a real bad one. Let's learn from it and not make a mistake. We've got an easy game next, so it should be fun.
On the back of a decent draw against Arsenal, there's the big one against Watford in the week. Yeah, look, I think just adding on to what Charlie Zazzera said in terms of the way we're going to play, I think, look, I really respect the sort of front foot mentality that Cleverley wants to instill. I think that's exactly how he was as a player wanting to be energetic, want to be hardworking, want to be aggressive. When we lose the ball, winning it back as quickly as possible. But I think probably my biggest takeaway yesterday was we're going to have to find ways to be flexible in games, even if we continue with that mentality. And I think, and again, I think, and hopefully this will come with time. I wanted to, before we cross over to Charlie Bush to ask him something, I wanted to get up Sam's thoughts. So he, as I mentioned, did the half marathon in Oslo yesterday. He sent us his thoughts running from afar. He actually said as the goals were going in, he was running quicker. So that might be a tip for any avid runners. If you want to do your 5K half decent, listen to Norwich 4, Watford 1 on the comms. But this is what he had to say.
So due to running the Oslo half marathon, I wasn't able to watch the game yesterday, but I did have the difficult experience of listening to it while I was running. I have caught up on it. I watched some extended highlights afterwards and have obviously seen the reaction of Watford fans afterwards. To be honest with you, I don't think that we need to panic potentially as much as some Watford fans are. Obviously, everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but I think we need to remember that this Watford team, it's a real work in progress under Tom Cleverley, and if we are going to rebuild under him, we are going to have some painful days like yesterday, some difficult days like yesterday, because not only is this Watford team a young one that is going to have to learn from this and continue learning throughout the season, but this is also a manager that is in his first full season in senior management and will ultimately have to learn from this as well. Ultimately, I think it was probably a naive performance from Watford. I think some of the decision-making was naive, some of the finishing was naive and poor as well, particularly that Daniel Jefferson chance at 1-1, which ultimately we should have, I to be honest with you, from listening to it, I think we probably should have kicked on after we equalised and tried to go in level at half-time. Yeah, and ultimately Jefferson missed that chance, which is frustrating, but I think particularly when that second goal went in just before half-time, I think that was a real killer. Heads dropped, and from that moment on, really, the whole second half, Watford were an absolute mess defensively. Full-backs were getting really high up, which exposed the centre-backs who were getting pulled all over the place. And, yeah, unfortunately, against the team of Norwich's quality, they're going to punish you. But, yeah, it's a learning experience, I think. And, look, when Watford won their first 3 games this season, no one claimed that we were world beaters, and likewise now that we haven't won a few in the league now in a row, I think that's 3 where we haven't won, ultimately doesn't make us the worst team in the league either. So, yeah, onwards to next week and bring on City away on Tuesday.
Can I just say, it's pretty impressive doing a half marathon and doing that review at the same time. But there is the man, the glorious Sam Yuko running the half marathon. Also, I think he shared his Strava as well. If people are interested, that was the route he took through Oslo. So if you fancy it, then actually, I was trying to think, lads. Are there any Norwegian Watford players? I've completely gone blank. Yeah, Norwegian Watford players. That might be one. That might be the sort of teaser for the rest of the video. Let's have a few of your comments just as we go on sort of the second half of today's stream. Lou Warren's good to see you, mate. Midfield has been poor all season without the ball. The 2 in the middle aren't good enough individually to have such responsibility. Would like to see Loser start the next and maybe switch to a 4. That could be the way to go. Ewan says, if we play a 3 at the back, I think we need Porto in there due to his experience and him much quicker than others. Ben thinks we need to play Pollock on the right with Sierrauta in the middle, who has more pace to cover, and the Ogbonna on the left. That would give me some confidence. Whether he'll feature against Manchester City is one thing to ask as well. There was a comment from Charlotte saying several Championship clubs axed their managers already this season, Stoke, Cardiff being examples. Potto hopefully not going to be trigger happy like the past. I guess, there we go. Josh King, Norwegian footballer. There we go. Look, there's a bit more analysis to come. Charlie Bush, I wanted to ask you about some of the positive sides of things. Now, one of them probably is for me, is a positive, Georgie Chafadadze. Easily our most creative player on the pitch. I think the run in the second half, I know Charlie tweeted about it, where he run the length of the pitch, got fouled. I don't know how that didn't get pulled back for a foul. It was ridiculous. But a lot of the good that we did again yesterday, as we have done this season, it's come through Georgie. Tom's mentioned about how he needs to improve his numbers, though, in terms of assists, in terms of goals. Is that down to the service he's giving, or is that down to the players in front of him?
No chance down to the service he's given. I don't think he can do much more to this team, to be fair. He's the only one, even when it's games like Norwich, where everyone looks a bit down and out. He's the only one shining through, sort of creating those attacking opportunities, as I said before, weaving between defenders, pinging balls, even if there's no end product. But I think it's probably going to be the prolific. Is prolificness a word? Prolificness? It is now. It is now. The prolificness of our forward players. Obviously, Bayo is a bit. What's it called? What's the phrase? On and off, hot and cold. Bayo.
On cold.
Hot and cold. That's the one. I'm pulling out all the phrases here.
Christian,
obviously we've got more to come from Jebba, hopefully, but I think as a whole, time will tell. Really, I don't think it's down to Georgie personally. I think he's doing all he can do. All he can do. And yeah, I think he needs to just keep doing what he's doing, and the numbers will come soon.
Yeah, and Tom Cleverley mentioned it. Game management needs to improve. We need to improve the defence, not the attack. What did change in the second half, Charlie? We'll just do that tactical change from a Norwich point of view, which people might have picked up on it, you might have not picked up on it. What was the tweaks? Even though
from Norwich or from us?
Sorry, I meant Charlie's there only because he's got a few screen grabs.
Of course, he's got some screen grabs.
Bad, by the way, anyone listening, right? I've never had to do a show with two Charlies before. I think Charlie Bush, the last time he was on, it was with Sam. It was a lot easier. There's a lot of Charlies. It's Charlie squared. Charlie Zazzera. Take me through the tactical tweak.
So yeah, second half, and I thought Norwich did it pretty well in the first half, but they had a pretty kind of strong press on us as we were trying to build out. You can see the examples here. And this was before they got their third goal. Again, right on us, which did kind of lead to us having some joy in that half. You can see the screen grab here when we've got a mad kind of 4-player overload. And I think that was the moment, especially after they scored, led to this cross from George as well. And that's the moment where Janus Hoff-Thorup kind of changed their out of possession work and their shape. Well, that was my observation of it, really. And this is what we saw after that moment. And they didn't press. They let us have it a bit higher up, but they basically kind of just sat in to I think it was a 4-4-5-1, really. I think this is a better kind of screen grab. So you can see there 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a 5-4-1. And then across here you got the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just Sargent up by himself. And I think they packed it centrally, and they thought Georgie's our best player. That is a threat. And I thought lesser of two evils. Let them go wide if they're good enough. You can see kind of out wide how much space Ryan's got, and we had it on the other side as well. But I don't think in the second half we used the width well enough. But you can see kind of through here how packed they make this midfield, and centrally Pollock tries to play a ball straight through in here, and I think we just lost it. But if you look at this, what they did here, you could see they had kind of all of their outfield players kind of just absolutely swarming us centrally, all of our players in here, and we just couldn't get it through. And that was a lot more evidence when they stopped kind of pressing. And again here, a good example of that 5 across midfield. We were really struggling to get through in that second half. You can see Georgie here, and we're kind of playing long balls out wide. But I just thought that was a really clear thing that happened in the game. I thought it was good management from their manager. And you know what? I tweeted it after the game. I thought we needed to give credit to Norwich. I thought they got their game plan spot on. I thought they identified our weakness of the high line, executed it. And one thing they did that we didn't do, they changed in game when they were winning and just said, come and break it down. We had no answers, and they obviously got that goal on the counter. And we've talked about that Georgie one, but I just wanted to see it in all of its glory. Unfortunately, we can't play the video, but Georgie picks it up on the edge of his area here. You've got 3 men here. There's no way that he should be getting past these players here. Beats them, pace power, and this is in the 80th minute, by the way. So Georgie's got it kind of in his half. Still got it. Look at this. They're trying to take him down here. You were right, Jacob. They should really be pulling that back. And I think he's really unlucky here. He's just run the whole length of the pitch, and there's just this one pass on that. If he squares it to Bayo, Bayo's got an absolute tap in here. And look at all the players he's left for dead. he couldn't get it through. It's a really good block from that defender. Unfortunately, he couldn't do anything for the rebound, but I just wanted to shout that out and shout it out because I thought George yesterday was, again, our standout player. A lot better than he was at Coventry, and I'm a bit worried if he keeps playing like that, there's going to be teams sniffing around for him. But getting him for £2 million is an absolute bargain. What a player.
You took the words out of my mouth, Charlie. I think I don't want to be that guy, but if he keeps playing the way he is, there are going to be offers, because even Tom Cleverley mentioned it in terms of his sort of football IQ is of a Premier League player. I think he's got the quality of a Premier League player. And I think you look at the bottom half of the Premier League, whether it's a Leicester, an Ipswich, a Southampton, your Southamptons, your Ipswiches, your Leicesters, they'll be sniffing around for a player like Georgie because he can create. And you think if they'll fit the system, I'd love to see him at like a team like Brighton. Not now, but as a sort of player, stay for a couple of seasons, Georgie, and then we'll cash it at some point. Charlie Bush, I forgot to ask you. First, actually, two questions. Number one, what was the mood like in the away end?
Oh, God. The exact mood that you expect. To be fair, up until the fourth goal, we were still, I'd say, a bit hopeful. But yeah, there was no one leaving. None of that was going on. But I think when the fourth one went in, it was sort of like everyone had a little sit down in their chairs. And it was a little bit realisation that it's not going to be a win every week. But just like Sam said in his little audio thing, it's going to be one of those games we just got to hopefully brush past and move on to the next one, which is a tricky one, very, very tricky one. But yeah, hopefully we'll keep the goals down this time.
We'll touch on that Man City relatively difficult one in just a second. Relatively. My other question, mate, what was the reaction like when Batman came off and Bond came on? Because that's quite rare that a keeper gets substituted, but also at that point in the game as well. That was a weird one.
Again, there wasn't much it wasn't like an outrage or any sort of, it was more confusion. It was sort of like, what's going on? What I think some of the lads I was with, I think Ewan already mentioned it in the chat, that Sierralta and Backman just didn't fancy playing City on Tuesday. But yeah, there wasn't much outrage or like, I think I've read somewhere that people are saying Batman walked himself off. That definitely didn't happen. It was a muscle injury, is what Clev said. And yeah, so it was more of a confusion from the crowd, to be fair.
It felt precautionary, Charlie, on that though with Batman. Charlotte says, hope Batman isn't going to be out for long. Although he can be erratic, Bond's been playing in the USA, but Championship football is very different. I actually thought of Bondy when the offside goal went in, because I was thinking, oh God, if that got in, that would have been a good look, because I think it went straight through his legs. Having said that, I thought it's really, really difficult, and I'd imagine it is anyway. I've never done it, but coming off the bench, early doors, away from home, the crowd's on top of you. We're not playing very well, and I thought overall he did pretty well, Bondy, to get himself through the game at that point, because it could have been. It's one of those, it could have been messy. I remember, to be honest, the best ever substitute appearance, or most memorable, actually, not best, most memorable substitute goalkeeper appearance for a Watford player, if you lads remember this, was Arlauskas at Villa Park away, 2015-16, in the black kit. We won 3-2, and he came on, and he couldn't catch a cold. The guy, honestly, he couldn't catch anything, and I was on edge for most of it. So Bondy, fair play to him. Having said that, Charlie, where CZ, where does that leave us goalkeeper-wise going forward?
Just had a bad flashback about Jack Bonham when Bond got injured all those time ago. Charlie Bush was probably one or two at that point. But where does that leave us? Yeah, hopefully Backman's not too bad. I think Bond's going to play against City. I think it'd be nice to see Bonner play against City. And before we get on about City, I just wanted to mention kind of maybe the reaction and like Watford losing. And I thought the reaction again was over the top as it is, and I think it is with every fan. But look, the 4-1 scoreline, but we still created a lot. And I think I saw a stat that we had a higher XG than 13 other teams in the Championship last season. More than like Burnley and Sheffield United, I think, who both won. So
we're 8 for XG this season, and we're 22nd for XG against, Charlie.
Yeah. So that XG against is an issue, but One thing that I really liked about Cleverley and what he said, and yeah, if anyone hasn't seen Cleverley's interview, I thought it was good because he was like, it was a horror start, but we're not using that as an excuse. We had players coming in. But yeah, he was like, I much prefer having to sort out a defence than if we're not creating the chances and having to get a team who are scoring. And I can see what he's saying there. So yeah, we just need to dust ourselves off. We're going to have loads more games like that where we lose this season. But if we can try and stay consistent and not getting a really bad run. But yeah, I think one positive as well that we should make, I thought Quadro Bar was absolutely maybe not electric, but he made his stamp on the game, didn't he? There was one thing where he kind of flicked in between two players and had a shot, but every time he plays, he looks really impressive. Should he be starting against City?
I'll throw it on to you, the Bush.
Yeah, 100%. I personally think Bar, I'm not sure who he'd replace though, because I think he's so good, Bar. I think every time I've watched him play, he's always so forward thinking. He's always driving at the defence. Like Charlie said, the little flick through and having a shot. He's never ever thinking, obviously it is a good thing passing back occasionally, but he's never ever thinking pass it sideways, pass it. He's always thinking head up, a bit like Vata, but a bit more powerful than Vata. Just driving straight at the defence, which is exactly what we needed in that moment of time against Norwich. And I'd definitely give him a run against City. I'm not sure who he'd be running against. Maybe it'd be Gvardiol, John Stones. I'm not sure how much they'll rotate, but it'll definitely be a good challenge for him anyway.
I fancy Bar through the middle.
A striker.
I've said it. Is this hot? I don't know if it's a hot take. It might be lukewarm. But what I said it to Charlie Zazzera when we did a stream about, I think it was the end of the transfer window, and we were talking about striker options, and people were saying Rajvic has gone, so we're left with Bayo, Jebison, and we weren't talking about Quadro Bar, who for me, I think will be our most dangerous attacker in through the middle because he's got everything. He's got the physicality, he's got the turn, his finishing can improve, but that will come with game time. But also you can ask him, you could say, look, you can be fluid. Bar, you could drift out to the left, you can drift out to the right. That means you could be interchangeable with the other attackers. I just feel he's the one player that, number one, he gets bums off seats, but also he can pin defenders back. And you're going to have to drop your line if you play against Quadro Bar. Early days with Jebison, I have to say, from what I've seen so far, in the small bits, I want to be seeing a bit more. It does take time, though, with a new player, and you can't judge him on what we've seen so far just yet. Some will use that miss, but obviously, when a new striker comes in, similar to when Solanke came in at Spurs, you're wanting that first goal as quickly as possible. He hasn't got that just yet, but I do just think Bar through the middle, I want to see it at some point because I genuinely feel like, as Charlie said, he's completed the most dribbles, more than any other Watford player.
Played there against Gillingham, didn't he? Played striker.
Yeah, I think particularly when there's exactly, man. I think particularly when there's a space in behind, he's one that we could use. Lads, let's do our team for City. So it's the Carabao Cup. On Tuesday night away at Manchester City. We offered to reverse the fixture and play at Vicarage Road. Pep Guardiola thought, you know what, Watford are absolutely huge. We want to see them at the Etihad. And I thought, you know what, fair play to the guy. But Charlie Zazzera, talk to me about your team. Who are you giving minutes to?
Oh, I'm going Bond in goal. I want to see Ogbonna start centrally. I want to see Porteous play, and God, I'm doing this on the fly, but I'll scrap that. I want to see Ogbonna in the middle. I want to see Pollock right centre back, and I want to see Morris continue there, left centre back, or Porteous. Not too precious, but I did think Porto had a pretty wild game yesterday. And then in midfield, I'd like to see Ebesele get a chance. And I think this is a good opportunity to rest players. Like, obviously, we want to play our strongest team, but we have got depth now. We have got good players on the bench. So I want to see Ebesele play on the right. I'd like to see Larousse play, which might give City some space on our left-hand side. And I think we should give Loser a go instead of Sissoko. Keep Tom Delly in there. I think he's fit. And then in the 10s, I'd probably Jebison's cup tied, so I'd probably go Bayo up top and Vata and Bar behind him.
Okay, Charlie Bush. I have to ask you, mate. Now, City are going to rotate.
Is it going to make a difference?
So That's my question. Is there any chance Watford having this fixture? And if not, what would represent a good result for Watford? Because my old man said to me before I went live, less than 5, and we've had a good evening.
I'm going to completely reiterate him. Anything under 4-5 would be would be brilliant. There's absolutely no chance we beat City or get a result against City. I'm not going to say anything otherwise. There's absolutely no chance. I'd love to be a positive. I am a positive thinking Watford fan, but there's positivity and there's being delusional, and I don't think we're going to beat City. I take it. What I think would be a good result is going into, if we get to half time 0-0. That'd be phenomenal.
And then we won
Just
the
0-0, and then they can do whatever they want in the second half, as long as it's not above 5.
Carabao, we got to 0-0 at half time versus City. You know what? There was it's a balancing act though, isn't it, Charlie Zazzera? Because you think of how much do you rotate it? Do you throw a few youngsters in there? Do you risk it in that respect? I mean, Pep is going to rotate it. You saw the team he put out today, went full strength against Arsenal. Their priority is not the Carabao Cup this season, and they could probably get through this game with rotating quite a bit. So it will be City's B, if not C team, probably, in terms of the priorities on the list. And the fact that for them it's 2 games in 3 days. As Sean says, City will play 4 or 5 kids, I reckon. We do have to say those 4 or 5 kids will be the next Cole Palmer or the next Rico Lewis, etc. So we're not talking about sort of, some free agents they've just brought in. So how, if you were Tom Cleverley, would you approach this game?
I also wanted to show, Sean also sent us his favourite Steps song, so I really appreciate that. And sorry to put Debbie Downer on it, but I don't think there'll be as many kids as people think. Phil Foden needs minutes. He'll play. Jack Grealish will play. Stones came off the bench today, so I expect him to play. Just speaking about kind of what we want, I saw a video from a couple of years ago, Wickham versus City in the Cup, and Wickham took the lead, and they had 7 minutes of glory. I'd love a taste of that. But I think it's all about kind of performance and the manner of it. The real fear and the possibility with City is that they can set more records. I've seen them beat us 6-0. I've seen them beat us 8-0. Well, I only saw 5 of those, but I think it's just a manner. Let's do ourselves proud. Do you know what I mean? So that we can come off the pitch with our heads held high, not worry about the scoreline too much. But yeah, I think it's a good opportunity for Klebs to rest players. I wouldn't play Georgie at all. I wouldn't play Sissoko.
But do you think they'd want to play? Do you think they'd want to play in this fixture because it is against City, because it is away?
It doesn't matter if they want to play. We need to do what's best for the team. And if we're playing Georgie and he gets injured ahead of Sunderland is a really, really good opportunity at home where Klebs is unbeaten in 9 to play a full-strength team and give one of the best teams so far in the league a really good go, which we know we can do. So let's just get players minutes that we need to and try and make the biggest account of ourselves as we did. But I remember there was an idea that we discussed a while back about WD18 dares, and we were saying we should give our community the opportunity to dare us something if something crazy happens. So if Watford beat Man City, give us a dare in the comments. Give us something outrageous that if Watford beat Man City, that we'll do. And if there's anything suitable, we'll do it.
How outrageous are we talking here?
Well, we're talking about if Watford beat Man City, so we're giving people creative license.
As long as they don't get arrested, it's all right. Yeah.
Charlotte says, I'm hoping to not repeat the 8-0 scoreline of 2019. Put it this way, if that gets beaten on Tuesday, actually that's probably more likely than us winning. But no, let's do it. Watford win. What would you do? Someone says Jay Jordan, get the R9 cut. Fabian says, if we beat City, you're all getting in the ponds. Is another one. To be honest, Charlie, just to wrap up, I actually think a lot of these players will want to play this game. I know it's not down to them, but I think if you're Georgie Chatfordazzi, you're going, I can get myself in the shop window here. I can play against City. Pep's watching. If you have a good game, I'm not saying you're going to move to City, but genuinely, that is a game. That is a game for a lot of those players that can get them on the map. If they play well against City and they go, do you know what? I remember with Chatfordazzi played well at the Etihad, Charlie Bush. So my question to you is, if you're one of those first teamers who played the last 6 games, I don't know, like Ryan Andrews, for example, I think he'll be desperate to play on Tuesday.
100%.
They never played at the Etihad before. So if you're one of those guys, do you want to play in this fixture, or are you kind of like, you know what, Ogbonna, Angelo, take this one for me?
No way, no, absolutely. If I'm a player, I'm doing my absolute best to be in Cleverly's good books for the rest of the weekend and Monday as well. I think it might have been Matty Pollock that I saw in an interview say that his family were actually quite happy that we got Man City in the draw, because playing at the Etihad is a massive thing for
his dad used to play for Man City.
Exactly, I think that was exactly what he said. Actually, yeah, it was something along those lines, that he gets to play in the Etihad. It's a massive achievement, and it's exactly what you want growing up. As you dream yourself playing in these big stadiums, and yeah, players like, I'd say, Matty, even James Morris, Ryan Andrews, Georgie, the young players and the ones wanting to go on and do bigger things. Absolutely, we wanted to play this game, but I've got a Charlie Zazzera tier stat for you here. I've got to wrap it up our preview for Man City.
Go on then.
We've got in my lifetime of watching Watford's, I've seen Watford's concede 624 goals. Oh, and you've got the stat up there. 34 of them were against Man City. So I've not got the best record. So I'm sorry to let you know that I am going to the game. So it's probably going to be at least 6.
So that's 34 goals in total, right, Charlie?
34 in total with Man City, yeah.
It's Man City. So by the end of Tuesday night, how many do you think that'll be up to? Or is that me being really pessimistic?
As long as I haven't broken 40, I'll be happy. As long as I haven't broken 40.
Ben says, if we beat Man City, you guys should sing Blue Moon live at the Mad Squirrel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's brilliant. That's a brilliant one.
That's really good. We'll do that.
Swing Oasis. Oh, no.
Or an Elton John classic. If Watford beat Manchester City, we will be singing live any song you want, Watford or Man City related, live at the Mad Squirrel come Sunderland's on Saturday. So we'll see. Lads, any final thoughts you wanted to wrap up with on Man City, on Norwich, Charlie Zazzera?
No, enjoyed that first therapy session of the season. I'm sure there'll be a few more. Hopefully not as many as the last previous 2 seasons, but looking forward to seeing Charlie and Sam on Saturday, and some Watford fans go to the Etihad, and who knows?
Charlie Bush, enjoy yourself. Could we?
Oh, God, I will.
What a pleasure today, mate. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was, as Charlie Zazzera said, it's a bit of a therapy session here, but sort of talk us through your plans for Tuesday night.
Plans for Tuesday night is we'll start the day meeting Sam at the ground with the coach. Jump on a bus, jump on a coach, have a little sleep, get there, wake up, full of positivity, get to 0-0 half time, just as I said. And it won't be Man City scoring the 4 or 5 goals. It will be Watford scoring the 4 or 5 goals. It will be a Georgie Chapatazzi masterclass. And Jebbo is going to run across the entire length of the pitch and shush all the fans that said he was rubbish within 1 game of him playing.
I've got some bad news for you, Charlie Bush.
Oh, he's got tied. I take it back. Jebbo will not be doing that. It'll be Bayo. Bayo will do a crow celebration right in front of the away end. Crow.
You know what? That is the perfect way to go out. We will see you. I think we'll do a stream on Thursday, probably reacting to City and sort of dissecting that one. We'll see how we end up with the scoreline. Huge shout out to everyone who watched live today in our stream where we talk Norwich, where we talk City. Look, it was a humbling Saturday afternoon in East Anglia, but we move on to City in the week. If you could leave a like on the way out, we really do appreciate it. Follow Charlie Zazzera, follow Charlie Bush. I've managed to get that right finally after an hour. You follow myself as well, and the links are in the description below. WD18 at WD18 fans. As always, this is brought to you in partnership with Hertfordshire Mind. The link is in the description below to donate to our fundraiser. So if you fancy dropping a quid in after the goal at the weekend, then that'd be much appreciated. And we will see you next time. Have a great week, guys, and take care of yourselves. Up the audits.